When was the last time you were bored? Can you tell me? When was the last time you sat back, bored out of your mind, staring at the hands on the clock, looking as if they were going backwards? Can you remember a time? I know that I can't, okay? I know that day to day, I am never truly bored. And it is a symptom of the world that we live in now. We're never bored. I'll give you an example. My typical day, I'll wake up, check my phone, get ready for work, get the train to work, scroll social media, we'll work 8 hours, scroll on the way home, get in, stick something on the telly, and maybe you're going to scroll while that's on. Don't get me wrong, that does definitely change day to day, especially now as you'll see as I carry on talking. I'm trying to be less on my phone, less online, but pretty much every day that's how it goes. I don't get the train every day. Some days I'll work from home, so that routine is a little bit different, but pretty much that is how it goes. And to be fair, your day might be similar. I also, I do other things other than that. I like video games, so I'm often playing video games. I'm not in the office 5 days a week, like I say. And so yeah, my day isn't always the exact same. It isn't always like that. Like I said though, a lot of you probably heard that and can relate in some capacity. You might even be scrolling right now and this is the thing that you're listening to in the background. So let me tell you this, stop that. Stop doing that. Not just with this video, but in general. Put the phone down and be bored, okay? And let me explain to you why you should be bored. I'll pick my own day apart so that you can see I'm not a hypocrite, okay? And I'll sort of tell you what I do now, because these are things that I really noticed in myself that I didn't like and I wanted to change. And so many people at the moment struggle with, whether it be mental health, whether it just be being every day sort of the same and trying to get out of a rut. We all struggle with similar things, and hopefully me picking my day apart a little bit and telling you what I do helps you. And also, don't get it twisted, I'm still on social media. If any of you know me in real life, or if any of you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, I've recently posted a picture every day for a year. So I'm still very much on social media. It'd be disingenuous to say I'm not, but I'm trying to use it less. So my usage is more or less just posting that picture, maybe have a bit of a scroll here and there. Again, I'll go into it. So again, let me pick it apart for you. So I do still check my phone quite often in the mornings, especially on my way to work. It's usually not social media related though, so it might be I'm checking that my train is still going to be on time. I like to check through my messages in the morning. I don't have notifications on for TikTok or Instagram, so if anybody's messaged me on there, I don't know unless I go in and look. I also primarily use like messages on the iPhone and WhatsApp. I've got several family group chats, so I double check those in the morning. Okay, and that's pretty much it in the morning. Now what I do instead is actually I read. And I know that's not popular and it's not necessarily cool, but you really should read, and you can actually read anything you want, okay? Read any book that you want, just so long as it is a book. And even if I used to read on this, I used to read on my iPad on the way to work. In the end, I've stopped doing that because I didn't like lugging it in and out of work every day. Not that it's heavy, but it's just an extra thing, But even if you're reading on a tablet, on your phone, just so long as it's a book written with intention, and that can be a self-help book. A really good one I can recommend is, it's called The Slight Edge. A good friend of mine gave that to me years ago. Really, really interesting, quite short, enjoyable, good read. At the moment, I'm reading, it's in my bag, but I promise I am reading it. I can't remember the title of it. I'm not enthralled by it, but it's okay. It's about an autistic boy who's trying to solve the murder of a dog. Again, it's not the best thing I've ever read, but it's good enough. And in the mornings, this one's quite a simple read, so it's good for in the mornings when you're maybe a little bit tired, you're trying to wake up. This does wake me up. I've also back here, you can't see it, and I've got loads of stuff all over it. A friend of mine got me a Castle in the Sky Studio Ghibli art book, which I am slowly going through. Sorry, Reese, but he's traveling at the moment, so he can't hurt me. But yeah, so reading in the morning, great thing to do. And I know inevitably some people will say, Well, I'm reading on Instagram or I'm reading on Twitter. Be honest, not with me, but with yourself. Is reading a Twitter post the same as reading a book? No, they're short, it's short form content. Again, it's to engage the dopamine in your brain and sort of get you to keep scrolling, which from what I've seen, people are trying to move away from this year. So hopefully this helps you with that and gives you some ideas. So yeah, I read in the mornings, not every morning, there's always exceptions, but I try and read as much as possible. I'm trying to think what else that I do. Sometimes in the mornings, if I've got a project that I'm working on, so this year, trying to work on more video, I do film in the mornings if I can. So again, on the train, if there's any opportunity to get B-roll on the train or in the station or just on my way to work. I do start work very early, so unfortunately I can't do that. Another thing you can do is go to the gym. I'm guilty of not doing this. I don't go to the gym yet. I am going to start soon. I definitely can't go in the mornings. It would be far too early. But if your routine allows for it, great. Definitely do that if you can. And the other biggest thing that I do in the morning, and this is pretty much every day without exception, is listen to music, which will be a very common one for everybody, I know. But when I say listen to music, I mean listen to music with intention. So don't just put music on and scroll through Instagram. I am writing right now like a breakdown of a really good album that I really like. It's called The Mocking Stars by Laus the Cat. And I thought, yeah, that'd be a really good one to do. I love how it sounds. I really know that album. I've listened to it 5 or 6 times since it came out. It came out not long ago, just for reference. And I sat down, I started writing for it. I had the music on in the background, like I'm going song by song. I had the music on and I had the genius lyrics right there. And I was going, fucking hell, I've never heard this line before. I've never listened to this. And that's because usually it is on in the background. It's on while I'm scrolling Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Not TikTok because that's audio, but you know what I mean. And whereas when you listen to it with intention, you will find yourself going, wow, I've never heard that line before. That sound really is great. Da, 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 da. X, Y, Z. It's great. And again, listen to music with intentionality. And do everything with intentionality, really, but listening to music specifically is great. And again, I'll be looking out the window, bored with my music on. Another thing about music, I sometimes will listen to just an instrumental, just a jazz, like jazz music. When I'm editing, I like to have jazz music on. It doesn't distract me. And I do that in the mornings now as well. So if I'm reading, I can't read and have like rap music on or any sort of music with words in it because it completely throws me off. So I have to listen to just purely instrumental, and jazz, for whatever reason, just speaks to me as an instrumental, and I listen to a lot of that. So that's something else you can do. And also another big one that is not specific to me, and again will maybe cure that boredom of scrolling through social media, is if you have any sort of hobby, how can you engage with that hobby in the mornings on your downtime between doing things, right? And you know, if your hobby is knitting, maybe you could knit on the train, but maybe your train's only 20 minutes, you wouldn't have any time to do some meaningful progress, or maybe knitting's too niche, but you know, like arts and crafts, maybe you like to make things. Yeah, you might not be able to do that on the train, but what you could do is find a magazine that publishes you know, things about arts and crafts, and subscribe to it and pay a little bit of money and have that every week or every morning or when, you know, however long, and read through it in the mornings. You know, your hobbies, this is something that I'm trying to get better at as well. My hobbies include gaming, you know, but in my spare time when I'm not gaming, I might watch a lot of stuff to do with gaming news or gaming development and things like that. That sort of is, you know, it's still to do with your hobby, it's still interesting to you, but it's a little bit different, it's almost educational, and again, it doesn't have to be educational, but that you may find interesting. So anyway, so that's my morning. What else do I do? So that's my morning on the way to work. Then I get to work. I'll be honest, I work in sales. Work's pretty busy. I don't have time to be messing about and stuff like that. So I pretty much just work solidly, pardon me, work solidly through my 8 hours. But my work is fairly stimulating. Again, I'm in sales, so when you get a nice sale, you're like, yes, that's great, get in. not only that, but I'm actually on the phone. It is telesales. So I'm sort of speaking to different people every day. I'm speaking to repeat customers that come back to me, and you know, I've worked there for about 2 years now, so we sort of know each other a little bit, and we might chat about, you know, what you've been up to, small talk, you know. But again, people for years have slated small talk, and they call it like what do they call it? Colleague conversation or whatever, like NPC dialogue. I can't lie, you need NPC dialogue in life. We can't constantly just be talking about you know, the deeper subjects of life. We need small talk. So nothing wrong with small talk. I do it every day. I pretty much get paid to make small talk, which is great. On my breaks, sometimes I'll bring my Mac or my iPad. God, my voice is horrific today. I'll bring my Mac or my iPad with me. If, you know, a colleague's not in, or if I'm not having lunch that day because I'm not hungry or whatever, then, which is very rare, I will tell you right now, it's very rare. But I will sit and maybe do some quick photo edits while I can. And again, that's another way of, in your downtime at work, just filling it up with something fun, something that's interesting to do. Again, maybe you don't have time in your day to do that. That's absolutely fine. I'm fortunate enough that I do. So yeah, now moving on from work, we've come home. Again, coming home on the train, pretty similar to the morning. I tend to, at that point, that is usually when maybe I'll do some scrolling. You know, if I am gonna go on social media, it's usually on the train back home. So again, like, it's kind of mindless. It just gets me through that half-hour journey from Birmingham back to Coventry. And that is kind of where I scroll. Again, like I said right at the beginning, it would be disingenuous to say that I don't. I am on social media, I do post. Try and keep it as limited to when I just post, but it's unrealistic to say that that's true for every day. So yeah, that's usually like when I would go on my phone. And my evenings now are, again, a little bit different. So again, going back to what we were talking about with intentionality. Before, I'd be sort of Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, whatever else you can think of. Yeah, scrolling through, I don't know what to watch. Oh, it's got a bit late to watch a film now, so I'm just gonna leave it. Oh, I'll go on TikTok. 2 hours later, you're still scrolling on TikTok. Right, well, I could have watched a film in that time. I could have started a really long film in that time and watched the rest of it tomorrow. So again, my evenings now are very different. So I'll come back. I've actually cancelled Disney Plus. I am gonna cancel Netflix, but my family is still using it. So unfortunately, I still have that, but that's going soon. So yeah, I'm gonna cancel both of them. And I am a sad person that does pay for YouTube. Being really honest, I watch a lot of YouTube. That's my big thing. And again, that is going back to the intentionality. It's stuff to do with gaming that I find really interesting. It'll be video essays about, you know, games a lot of the time, films, breakdown of films. As I'm trying to learn a little bit more about videography, that's really interesting to me. So I do pay for YouTube. I know that's really sad, but I do pay for that. I also pay for Apple TV, which again, it's just another streaming subscription. I'll be honest, I've got that Apple One thing, so that's why I pay for that. I don't really watch it. Now that I'm getting rid of the rest of them, I might. So again, going back to the intentionality, the reason I've done that is because I've started to collect physical media. I've got like a thing over there, a big brown sort of chest of drawers thing. On top of that, I've got a few films. I've got a few hidden down here somewhere. What have we got? We've got Cowboy Bebop. Absolutely phenomenal show. But yeah, so that's, again, I'm trying to go into brick and mortar stores. I'm trying to not order so much off Amazon. And I'm sort of going in and I'm looking around and I'm buying films that I've never even heard of. I've recently, I've started watching Twin Peaks by David Lynch. That's made me interested. I know it's not just him, but it's got me interested in other David Lynch things. So I bought Mulholland Drive, I think it's called, and I watched Blue Velvet not so long ago. That was on Netflix, if I'm honest. But yeah, so again, watching stuff with intentionality, maybe going through some people's filmography, or if you're into music more than film, somebody's discography could be really cool. And that's pretty much how I spend my evenings. I'll also game quite a bit. Recently played Assassin's Creed Shadows. Don't recommend, not great. Unfortunately, the stealth is good, but pretty much nothing else is. And I'm also playing the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game. I do play games that aren't by Ubisoft, I promise. It just happens that those were both on sale, so I bought them. So again, going back to what we were saying earlier about the sort of endless scroll and constantly scrolling, for me, it's been quite easy to replace that. And I'm fortunate because I'm somebody who does have hobbies and I do various things. I'm, I'm outside, I'm on the trains to Birmingham all the time. So if I want to, I can, saunter off into Coventry, or I can wherever, again, gaming occupies my time, and now I've got this, and I want to write, and I want to film, and I want to shoot photos all the time. So replacing that habit for me has been really easy. And I'll tell you now, if it was easy enough for me, it's definitely going to be easy enough for you. I am somebody who does struggle to, I will say something and then I will eventually do it, but it's the eventually bit that catches up with me. And I do take a long time to do things. So hopefully you've got a better character than me and you can just get on with things and you can just cut that out. But I want to talk about being bored again, because I said earlier, as I'm sure you'll recall, no one's really bored anymore. That was a massive lie. And I just said that to lie to you. There's no other reason. I'm really lucky, and this is important. I'm lucky to have my grandparents in my life. And I'm even luckier because I do see them on a regular basis, near enough every Sunday. And one of my nonna's favourite things to say to me, not so much now that I'm older because I wouldn't dare say it anymore, but when we were kids, and I would say, oh, I'm bored. She would look at me and she would say, when we were kids, we were never bored. Now, my nonna is over 70. I can't remember the specific age, right? But when she was young, they didn't have games, computer games. They didn't have no social media. They didn't have mobile phones, as I was constantly reminded. They didn't have any of that sort of stuff. And they would solely rely on their imagination and friendship and board games, whatever else they may have had at the time. Making up friends with making up games with your friends, which would have been, very important back then. Now, imagination is a little bit of a dying art, unfortunately, and not just in young children, but in everybody. The rise of AI, not to make this a rant about AI, but the rise of AI. I mean, I saw a thing the other day about a toy that you can speak into and you can say, oh, generate this, and it will generate an image for your kids. What is that? It's going to completely discourage children from drawing and painting and making a mess and being kids. It's terrible. But anyway, moving on from AI, because that's a whole other not even a video, that's a whole other discussion. But yeah, so imagination is dying out a little bit, and it is unfortunate that, and I can say this from experience because I've worked quite a lot of years in hospitality and I've seen this for years and years, and it is getting worse and worse. You'll see a family go out, and the kids will be sat on the table with an iPad or with a phone, with a parent's phone, scrolling, watching, mindless, boring slop. And it's really sad because that's not how it should be. Kids should be encouraged to be imaginative. They should be talked to at dinner and not cast aside by their parents. And again, they should be engaged with. And then now, again, more than ever, we've also got the COVID generation of kids. I've got younger siblings, I've got younger cousins. They are the COVID generation. Luckily, and again, we're very fortunate for this, we've got quite a close-knit family. So again, we pretty much all meet up most Sundays at my grandparents' house. The kids interact. There's a lot of, they're quite creative kids. I mean, my siblings are both actors, not famous or anything, but they go to drama clubs and they perform. My cousins are both quite musically talented. But they are still the COVID generation and they're luckily free of this. But a lot of people, even my age, I mean, I turned 18 during COVID and I was lucky because I had a hospitality job, so I was forced to interact with people. But a lot of people maybe weren't able to get jobs in that time and didn't have that sort of forced social interaction that I did. And now lacking in social skills, which is really, really unfortunate because again, that leads to you being more shut off. And what does that have to do with being bored. You're probably thinking, what, you know, you were telling me about being bored and now you're talking about social media and COVID. What are you on about? You obviously weren't listening to my nonna, okay? She was never bored as a child, no matter what. Even when all the shops on Sunday were closed, there was no one to play with, there were no toys, you were just never bored. You'd use your imagination. And my point is, you know, having the COVID generation of people who didn't have the social interaction, having social media taking up so much of our time and being pushed more and more towards short form content rather than long thought-provoking things, that is killing us. Social media is the mind killer, is what I wrote down, which sounds really dramatic, but it's true. Social media is the mind killer, not boredom, okay? And so I've kind of reinterpreted what my nan meant by they were never bored. And what I take it to mean is actually, yeah, you were bored, but it was all right because you occupied your time regardless. You didn't find a meaningless task to do. You would create things in your own brain. You know, maybe you weren't maybe you couldn't draw, but I mean, my nan's very musically talented. She taught me piano for a long time. Unfortunately, I'm not musically talented, but she still taught me. I still learned quite a lot. I can still remember the theory now. She was great at that. Maybe she would go and do that as a child. You know, if you had no one to play with, or, you know, nothing to play with or nothing to do. And I'm going to say it again. Boredom is not the mind killer. Social media is. In this day and age, and I really mean this, if you've got the privilege of being bored, that is exactly what it is. It is a privilege. And we're so fortunate to have enough downtime and quietness and moments where we just don't actually feel obligated or have to do anything to be really, truly mind-numbingly bored. I mean, this whole video idea sort of came to me, not that it's the most original thing you'll ever watch, but this came to me on the train the other day. I was on the way to work. I get up really early, that's why I thought it was night, because it was pitch black. On the way to work, and I had my headphones on, like I was saying earlier. I was listening to music, and I was genuinely bored out of my mind because I was refusing to go on social media. I'm staring out the window. And then 10 minutes passed and I thought, I am still bored, but actually this is quite enjoyable because I'm listening to the music again and really taking it in, like I was saying earlier. And it made me think, oh, this is not a bad thing. Being bored is not bad. We always think of it as, oh, I'm bored, and that means that there's an absence of something and nothing to do. But actually, no, that is correct, actually, yes, but it leads to things. It led to me thinking of this idea. It led to me going home that night and thinking, right, I should go to bed, but actually I had that idea. I'm gonna think about that. I wrote a whole script, which I've completely ignored. I do keep looking down at it because I need to remember roughly what I was talking about, but I've basically just ad-libbed this whole thing. But I wrote this whole script. I've got footage in here that hopefully I've recorded and edited in, and you're like, oh wow, he's made a little video, this is the first one and there will be more. But my point is, all of this doesn't exist without boredom. I did not make, I would not have made this without being bored that one day on the train. And because of that, that is why I think boredom is incredible. And we should encourage people to be bored and do less and do nothing more often, because it will lead you to being so bored out of your mind that your mind will wander and entertain, and you will come up with things. And don't get me wrong, social media is great. It allows for so much creativity. It allows for us to share our work. It allows for us to meet people. But I think you won't find true inspiration on Instagram or TikTok. You really have to look for that in real life yourself, and you will find it if you look for it, right? And the thing is, and again, I've talked about my own interests this whole time. I'm into photography. I'm starting to learn video. I'm into games. I love film. I really hope your interests are completely different to mine. I hope you love, I have a few different things written down of people that I actually know. Maybe you love to paint. Maybe you're a really accomplished artist. I don't know what you do, but I hope you do something, and I hope you love it, and I hope it excites you. And I hope that it excites you so much that when you are bored and there's nothing else to do, your mind wanders to that. I hope you have that. And if you don't, look for it. Trust me, there's something for everyone. There is an infinite number of things in this world. There are things that haven't been discovered yet. There are things that you can do that other people have done that maybe you'll do it and be inspired again. There is so much to do, okay? And my whole point is that you should be so fulfilled, so happy with the things that you do, that you should then be allowed to be bored and allow your mind to wander. And boredom should be accepted when it comes, but it should not be the status quo. We should not be on the train or on the way to work, anywhere, any point, so bored that we think, oh, I'm just gonna stick on, a bit of Instagram. I'm gonna watch some TikTok. That is not real. You are not going to feel fulfilled from doing that. And like I said before, social media is great and it has its uses. I think its current state is horrible. It's algorithmic. It pushes, agendas of whoever runs it. It's not what it was built for. It was built for human connection, and again, I wrote so much stuff down, but I've gone pretty much off script. But I wrote a lot down about how I emigrated from Italy years ago, and all of my cousins now have children. They all live in Italy. One lives in Sweden, and I can call them. I can get them on a FaceTime call and see is it a second cousin, a nephew? I don't know what you'd call it. I can see these children that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to before, I go back to Italy and I meet them, but let's say you move over here and you don't have the financial means to go back home on a regular basis or ever. It's a way for us to be connected. That is what social media is about. And if you're putting your work on there, I sincerely hope that, you put it up there for you, but I also hope that you're inspired and you want to work with other people. And now more than ever, I've started to, as I scroll or whatever, when I am scrolling, if I see a cool piece of artwork or a great bit of photography, I'll always leave a comment. No one's obliged to come back to you, but I think it's just nice to be supportive and build a bit of a community around your interests and hobbies. And again, it is algorithmic and that isn't great, but the algorithm does pick up on what you like. And it will try and push stuff towards you that you don't, but it will push stuff that you do. And I definitely think you should get involved and watch what you can on there in limited amounts. This whole thing's been a little bit rambly. I think I am going to use this version, to be honest. If you don't see this message and I didn't use it, there'll be a few cuts here and there because I made a couple of mistakes, but it's my first one and I'm happy with that. And I want to leave you with my final sort of message. Which is, the world isn't perfect and it never will be, because perfect doesn't exist. The thing is, every day we take actions and they do have an impact, whether we think they do or not. Whether it's an impact on us or on others, people that we know or people that we don't know. And there are truly, and again, I've worked in hospitality, so I know this from first-hand basis, there's so many rude and irritating and horrible, nasty people. But why would you want to be one of them? Why would you take actions on a day-to-day that lead you down that path of being like these people? And I think the root cause, maybe not the root cause, but a big problem as to why these people are like that is too much time spent being bored on social media, not engaged, just infinitely scrolling and being miserable. If you take the time and if you really try to come off social media as much as possible, I'm not saying you have to be fully off it in this day and age, it's not possible, but come off it as much as possible. Remove yourself from that. Be a little bit nicer. When you are on social media, if you see something that you like, leave a comment, say it's great, share it with a friend, have a discussion, engage with things. It will make you a better person and it will make the world a better place. I want to encourage you to indulge in your hobbies as much as possible. enjoy them, share them with people that you love, share them with people that you don't know. You know, online again, not don't walk up to people in real life. But indulge in your hobbies, enjoy them as much as possible, be a nicer person, it will pay off. It's always the better option. And finally, reject the boredom that is forced upon you. Do not sit and scroll social media all day. Reject that, completely reject it, and embrace the boredom that you create for yourself. Enjoy the rest that you take from the things you love because you've earned it and because you deserve it. And be bored so fully and so often that it inspires you to do more.